Think your plastic gets recycled? Think again. Every week, you toss your plastic into the recycling bin and feel good about it. But what if I told you most of that plastic isn't actually being recycled and might never go away? Today on Eco Hack Lab, we're exposing the real story behind plastic waste, why recycling isn't the solution we think it is, and what you can actually do to make a difference. Stick around for the facts, the myths, and the steps you can take to break free from plastic pollution. Ready? Let's go. Let's start with the numbers. Since the 1950s, humanity has produced over 10 billion tons of plastic. Every year, we add another 400 million tons. But here's the kicker. Only about 9% of all plastic ever made has actually been recycled. And the rest? Well, it ends up in landfills, incinerators, or the environment, where it can last for hundreds, even thousands of years. Plastic pollution isn't just an eyesore. It's choking our oceans, harming wildlife, and breaking down into microplastics that end up in our food, water, and even the air we breathe. Recent studies identify the biggest risks of microplastics to human health as their widespread accumulation in various organs and tissues, causing oxidative stress, inflammation, DNA damage, and functional disorders at the cellular level. Microplastics have been found in the liver, colon, lungs, placenta, brain, and blood, with the highest concentrations in the colon and liver. Health impacts linked to microplastics exposure include increased risk of chronic non-communicable diseases such as diabetes, stroke, hypertension, neurological conditions like dementia, with microplastic accumulation in the brain rising significantly over recent years, inflammation, allergies, weakened immune system, and potential reproductive issues due to chemicals like BPA and plastics. Suspected links to colon and lung cancer, reproductive, digestive, and respiratory health problems. All of these should prompt serious concern and reflection about your next plastic purchase, use, and disposal. Most of us believe recycling is the answer, but the truth is, plastic recycling is broken. And I'll give you 3 reasons why we're saying it is broken. Many plastics can't be recycled at all. Think plastic bags, wrappers, and most colored plastics. And these make up between 90 to 95% of plastics. Yeah, 90 to 95% of plastics cannot be recycled at all in practice and are rarely accepted by recycling facilities. This means the vast majority of these plastics end up in landfills or incinerators rather than being recycled. 2. Even recyclable plastics are often contaminated by food or mixed materials, making them useless, especially when they come from domestic recycling and even worse from communal bins. And the third reason being that most recycling facilities only accept plastics labeled as PET and HDP, like water bottles and milk jugs. The rest? It's landfilled, burned, or shipped overseas, often to countries without the infrastructure to handle it, where it ends up polluting rivers and oceans. Ever wonder what happens to your plastic after you put it in the bin? For decades, rich countries shipped mountains of plastic waste to poorer nations. Since then, plastic has flooded into countries like Malaysia, Indonesia, and Vietnam. But many of these places can't process it safely. Some is dumped illegally or burned in open pits, releasing toxic fumes. And even when plastic is recycled, it's often downcycled into lower quality products, meaning it will still end up as waste after a single use. So, why is plastic recycling so difficult? There are thousands of types of plastic, each with different chemical properties. Mixing them ruins the batch. Many products are made from multiple layers or materials, like chip bags or coffee cups, making them impossible to separate. Food contamination, as I earlier mentioned, ruins recyclability. And recycling plastic is expensive, often more costly than making new plastic from fossil fuels. That's why most plastic is designed for single use and never gets a second life. Let's look at some truth about bioplastics and compostable plastics. Maybe you've seen bioplastic or compostable plastics and thought they were the answer. But here's the catch. Most bioplastics need industrial composting facilities, which are rare in most cities. In a backyard compost, they break down as slowly as regular plastic. If they end up in landfill or the ocean, they act just like traditional plastic. And mixing bioplastics with regular plastics can ruin recycling batches. So, while bioplastics sound promising, they're not a silver bullet and can even make the plastic problem worse if we're not careful. How did we get here? The plastic industry has spent decades promoting recycling as the solution, while ramping up production of single-use plastics. And I'll tell you why. Plastic is cheap to make from oil and gas, significantly cheaper than from recycled plastic. Secondly, companies design products for convenience, not recyclability. And one of the easiest telltale signs of this is the presence of complex components like non-removable labels, mixed material caps, or adhesive that disrupt recycling processes. Packaging is also designed for single-use or resealability, prioritizing ease for consumers, but often at the expense of recyclability. Thirdly, Chasing Arrow's recycling symbols are often used on non-recyclable plastics, confusing consumers. And fourthly, the industry lobbies against bans on single-use plastics while investing in new plastic plants. A good question at this point is, so, what can we actually do? Here's how you can make a difference. Refuse and reduce. Say no to single-use plastics whenever possible. Bring your own bags, bottles, and containers. Reuse. Choose durable, reusable alternatives: glass, metal, 100% certified bamboo, or fabric. Recycle right. Learn your local rules and only recycle what's accepted. Clean and sort your recyclables. Now you know why cleaning before recycling is essential. Support change. Join community cleanups, support bans on single-use plastics, and push companies to redesign products for reuse and recycling. We've also seen how critical that is. Remember, the most powerful solution is to stop plastic waste before it starts. So, ready for a challenge? Try going 1 week without single-use plastic and share your experience in the comments or on social media with #EcoHackLab. What was the hardest item to replace? What swap are you most proud of? Share your tips, hacks, or even your struggles, because change is easier when we do it together. We'll feature the most creative plastic-free solutions in our upcoming videos. With 90 to 95% of plastics unrecyclable, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by the scale of the plastic problem and all the plastics polluting our oceans and environment. But there's hope. Scientists are developing enzymes that can break down plastics in days instead of centuries. This is hope for a cleanup and not an excuse to pollute. New recycling technologies shows promise to turn mixed plastics back into raw materials. And a new generation of activists, innovators, and everyday people like you are driving real change. The future of plastic waste isn't set in stone. Every action counts. Don't let your plastic waste disappear into a landfill or into the ocean. Join the EcoHack Lab community for weekly hacks, science updates, and real-life solutions for a plastic-free future. Like, subscribe, and share this video with a friend who still believes recycling is enough. Together, We can break the cycle of plastic pollution, one smart choice at a time.